Managing a short-term rental is a lot of hard work. There's constant messages from guests about things like early check-ins, late checkouts, oh, I broke something, all kinds of things. And if this kind of stuff is getting you down and making it tough for you to take care of your own short-term rental, stick around because for this video, we're going to talk about how sweating the small stuff is really affecting your business. Hey everybody, welcome back to Secrets to Short-Term Rental Success. My name is L'Oreal Keaton. I am a real estate investor, a property manager, licensed real estate agent, and for the past 5 years or so, I have been taking care of a number of short-term rentals in the Great Smoky Mountains. We started out as just self-managing our own properties and grew to create a boutique property management company for about 25 properties at this point. So we know a lot about, how interacting with your guests and all the challenges that come with being a short-term rental owner, operator, property manager. We know how challenging this can be. Property management is a 24/7, 365-day a year job. There is constantly messages from guests about something. There is always, it seems like, something to fix or some type of crisis that you have to take care of. And this can really wear on a short-term rental owner or property manager. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that today because, forgive me for saying this, but sweating the small stuff is really going to affect your business. Okay, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk about today is how you interact with your guests on some real common things that are going to come up in short-term rentals. So for example, we're going to talk about people asking for early check-ins or late checkouts. That's like pretty common. I deal with that question, if not daily, every other day. It seems like there's always guests that are asking for that. And how you handle these types of things with your guests really depends on kind of your business model and also how, you feel about guest experience and whether or not you want to use this as a chance to make money, or do you want to use it as a chance to show goodwill towards your guests, be more in the hospitality business where if it's not going to affect you, then you can help them out and give them a great experience, set things off on the right foot, and really help you towards getting a 5-star review. So when it comes to an early check-in, that pretty much happens a lot more than a late checkout. I'll have guests that ask if they can come sooner than 4 o'clock. That's our check-in time. And so I have seen tons of stuff all over the internet talking about how, you should charge your guests a fee if they want to check in early. It's a great way to make money. And I'm not knocking that. I understand that this is a business and you do need to treat it as such. But for you guys out there that are self-managing your properties and for you property managers out there representing other owners, one of the things you need to think about when you make these kinds of decisions are you looking at this from a real estate investor business standpoint, or are you looking at it from a hospitality business standpoint? Because they're very different things, especially if it's not going to affect you at all. So for example, when it comes to an early check-in, I always look at the calendar, I talk to our cleaners, and I see whether the house is going to be ready. Most often for our 4 o'clock check-in, the house is going to be ready by 2 or 3. And so it really costs us nothing to allow the guest to come early, but wow, what a difference it makes in setting off your stay with your guest on the right foot. It's so nice to be able to say to them, hey, the house is going to be ready early, no charge. You all can show up by 2 or 2:30, whatever the case may be for your individual house. It's no issue. Enjoy your stay. That sets such an amazing, warm, inviting tone with your guests. And again, this is hospitality. It's a business, but what matters more? The $25 you're going to get for charging a guest to check in an hour and a half early, or the 5-star review that is going to be lasting for your company where you built a great rapport with your guests over something as simple as an early check-in that really didn't make a difference to you one way or the other. It's just something to think about. And when you're making decisions about your business, think about them from hospitality. Yes, you've got to make money. Everybody knows that. But you shouldn't be nickel and diming your guests. It's really not going to help you in creating a great experience for them. And even if they don't leave you a bad review, they may not review you at all, or they may not leave the one that they would have if you just showed them some generosity. Another great example about hospitality versus business real estate investing is when a guest breaks something in your place, damages something in your place. Now, I'm not talking about stuff where you need to make a claim because they destroyed something in your home. That happens. We're going to do videos about how to make claims and all of that. I'm totally not suggesting that. What I'm talking about right now is the broken wine glass, the guest that took your coffee cup home by mistake. I just had one today where a guest just messaged me and said, hey, my 5-year-old took home one of your washcloths. I'm happy to mail it back to you. And think about that. This guest was going to mail me back a washcloth. Super generous, super kind. Do you know what my response was? I said, hey, it's going to cost you more to mail it back to me than it is for me to replace it. So keep it, no big deal. They've already left a 5-star review. it wasn't a big deal. This is what I mean about don't sweat the small stuff. Now, I will tell you that when you're operating a business at scale, and there are some really, really great content makers here on YouTube that talk about your business and how little costs can really add up, that's totally true. I'm not going to say that like, oh, you should absorb every cost for, mistakes or issues that your guests cause. But at the same time, I'm going to say, look at it from the hospitality standpoint. What's more worth it to you? Having somebody mail back the washcloth or getting an amazing 5-star review and potentially a repeat guest because you didn't say, yes, please mail it back to me and spend the whatever it's going to be, $10 to send back a washcloth. That goes a long way with people. If a guest does a lot of damage that is significant, then of course you should charge them for it. And if you have 100 properties and every day you are replacing some type of item, yes, that's going to affect your business. But I would challenge you to look at your margins and really see whether you can absorb some of these things, because I do see some of them as just the cost of doing business. I had a guest just tell me the other day, oh, we broke a wine glass. Okay, it's no big deal. I'm not going to charge them the $3 for the wine glass. Again, I think it creates a better rapport with your guests when it's something small to be like, hey, no big deal. Don't worry about it. And it's always the guests that reach out to you to tell you about it that are going to leave you the best reviews. You don't get the 5-star review from the guest that broke the wine glass and like tries to hide it from you. Typically, that's not what you're doing, or that's not what you're going to see. But when the guest reaches out to you and says like, hey, I messed this up, I'm willing to pay for it, or I'm willing to mail it back, those are always the ones that I want to reward by saying like, hey, no big deal. This kind of stuff happens. I've got kids myself, like whatever it may be, don't worry about it. And we hope you had a great time. It goes so much further. So again, that's another example of looking at it from a hospitality standpoint, not just a business, make as much money as you can standpoint. And again, I would challenge you, there are just parts of this that are the cost of doing business. You are going to replace washcloths. You are going to replace linens and towels and things like that. I'm not saying that you should absorb every single cost, but you really need to think about what is it saying to your guests and how much value are you giving by saying, hey, no big deal. It's something that I can easily replace and you get a 5-star review. As far as I'm concerned, your reviews are paramount in getting you more guests, more bookings, making you more money. So when it's a little $3 wine glass versus a 5-star review that you may or may not get if you actually charge the guest for the broken wine glass, I'm going to pick the review all day long. So let's face it, in hospitality, guests are going to do things that maybe, you wish they wouldn't, but you've always got to, again, look at it from a standpoint of how much did this affect the house, the property, their experience, all of those things as to whether or not you make a big deal about it. For example, it is pretty common for guests to bring an additional person that maybe wasn't on their reservation. I'm not saying they're throwing a party or suggesting that anything like that is okay, but sometimes they just like mess it up and they put that their reservation is for 2 or 3 people and there's like an extra kid or there's an extra person, or they bring somebody with them for their stay that is like visiting that they know from the neighborhood. Maybe they're visiting family and a family member comes over. This kind of stuff isn't a big deal. I just really want to remind you guys to like not freak out. I know a lot of you have like Ring cameras or driveway cameras and you're watching them all the time and it's like, oh my gosh, the guest brought an extra person. Okay, not really a big deal. And we personally don't put charges typically for extra guests. And we've had a really good run of our guests respecting how many people our house holds. But I will say that when you have things like Ring cameras, it can become a little bit stressful to be watching them all the time. Adam and I have an 8.5 acre property that has 2 homes on it. And one of the homes we stay in pretty regularly with our family. And, we don't have cameras or anything like that. And I did realize a couple of years ago, I turned to Adam and said, I kind of don't want to know what's happening because it starts to stress me out, because we were staying at one of the houses on the property. I knew that the reservation for the other house was only supposed to be 4 people. There was like 4 cars there, 8 or 10 people hanging out. I think it was just friends that they knew from the area or family that was staying at another house. I have no idea. But for a little bit, it really started to like stress me out. I'm like, that's not the number of people that are supposed to be at the house. And, lo and behold, it probably was just friends. They weren't staying there. They weren't throwing a party. They left the house in great shape. They were wonderful guests. They told me they wanted to come back again. And like, I was really stressing out for nothing. So again, it's just a reminder to kind of think about this stuff and realize that most of the time, guests are really going to take care of your property. Everybody is not out to like ruin your house. And I think that it's really important to kind of look at your attitude and your mindset from hospitality, because I firmly believe that what you're expecting to find is exactly what you're going to get. So we genuinely try to look at our guests as, friendly people that are going to take care of our property, that are appreciative to be there. And typically that's what we get in our interactions with them. But I feel like if you're looking at it from a standpoint of guests are out to get you, they're going to destroy your house, you have to be worried about parties and all kinds of things like that's what you're going to find. It's going to come through in your communications with people, even if you don't realize it. So just think about that when it comes to hospitality. Hospitality is hard. And if all of these little things are going to stress you out, I strongly suggest looking into a co-host, looking into a property manager, because at the end of the day, you need somebody to be managing your property that is focused on guest experience, because giving the guests a great experience is what is going to get you the best reviews, the most successful business, just overall more bookings. So remember that, look at this from a hospitality standpoint at all times. Doesn't mean that you take unacceptable situations and let them happen, but I really challenge you in every situation to think about it and say, am I sweating some small stuff here? Is this really a big deal? Or is it something that I can let go? Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to see. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you next time.